Okay.
Recording in progress.
Welcome, everybody. I am in Peru. Happy Sunday. Appreciate you all joining me here for our Sunday morning, or now Sunday noon, A Course in Miracles session. And this is A Course in Miracles for anybody that is new. Here you go. There's a book that was channeled by Helen Schuckman back in the early 70s. So on the spiritual stage, this is actually pretty young. A Course in Miracles is really only like 46 years old. So, by participating and witnessing being here today, just thank you all so much for being here on this journey with me. I have been practicing and studying A Course in Miracles for about 7 years now, 6-7 years, and been teaching it online for 4. This course for me has brought just incredible clarity in my life in terms of just seeing things as they really are versus the way that we interpret, project, and judge it. Okay, so for every one of us, we see the world a certain way. We see the world from basically our past. And so the course is saying, how can we pull that apart? That the past really holds nothing in the present moment and doesn't dictate your future either. All right, so the course says that really the only thing brought to the present moment from the past should be something that is loving. All right, but a lot of us, we connect a lot of our stories, things that were taught to us, instilled in us as we were growing up, whether it's from society or from our parents. How do we break free from all of that and become peaceful? Right, I was just literally right before this on a podcast interview out here in Peru, live. I went to a storytelling event, and I got up and I told the story. I spoke about money. I spoke about my relationship to money. I spoke about Course in Miracles, things like that. So somebody asked me to be on their podcast afterwards, and so I just did that right before this. And it's been an epic journey with the course. So I hope that I can, share some of the things that I've learned along the way, and also learn from you guys. So I'm sure people will still be hopping in throughout. So what we've been doing this whole year is we do one section of A Course in Miracles every single call. Then we open it up for conversations. And, usually during that time, like the best and the message that is meant to be for this call comes through during that time. All right. So as we read the course, know that you don't have to follow along from the beginning all the way to now. Every single sentence, every paragraph, every section, they stand on their own, giving you the same opportunity to come to a revelation yourself. Okay, the course itself is Christian in languaging. However, it's not really Christian at all. Okay, it's just Christian in languaging. It's a universal teaching. There's universal laws in here that helps us identify where it is that we come from perception, come from interpretations, come from illusions versus what is real and what really exists. And what the course says, that the only thing that really exists is love. And love will create and undo everything unlike itself to make it more like itself. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to start just this call by reading this section. So my invitation is for you guys to listen with your spiritual ears. Okay, so listening with your spiritual ears is different from listening with your physical ears. Because spiritual ears is hearing the words and the intention and the spirit behind the words here itself. So as I read, just allow whatever thoughts to come to your mind to come, say hello to it, let it go, and whatever's meant to come is meant to be here. All right, and then we'll open it up for that. So so far up to this section, chapter 3 has been called the innocent perception. It's about returning our mind to innocence. It's about seeing our brothers and our sisters, our family, back to that space where there was no shame, no guilt, no judgment, right? So that we can bring more peace into our own hearts. So how do we return to that innocent perception? So kind of just summing up a little bit of last section that we did on Wednesday, which you can see all of these recordings on my YouTube channel under the live section, Lovely TV. So judgment and the authority problem. And the entire that section itself was for us to really, by the end of it, know what I am and accepting my own inheritance. So what is our inheritance? Our inheritance is peace. Peace is the natural heritage of spirit. And you are free, the court says you are free to refuse to accept your inheritance, but you're not free to establish what the inheritance is. So in that, there is great hope. No matter how far down the road we've gone, there is still so much hope for us because God holds for us the remembrance of who we are already. You know, you can forget it. You can forget it. You can choose not to see it. You can refuse it. But what you are and who you are is still held safely in God's hands, in the mind of God. Right, so that's what the Course is saying. You can, of course, God, universe, whatever you want to believe, you can interchange any of those words. But for us is to remember that we have imprisoned ourselves with our own stories, interpretations, and, you know, all of that. And when the way to find peace is to return our mind back to alignment. We talked about alignment last week, you know, aligning to the will of the universe, that everything is unfolding as it should. There is no mistakes. And I am simply a vessel or a channel to allow that unfolding to happen. And when we can, you know, really remember and rest in that space, all the burdens of our everyday life falls off our shoulders. You know, we live in a world with so much worry and anxiety because we've been trying to accumulate so much. We've been accumulating things, and it's never given us the things that we thought we really wanted, which is this lasting peace, like feeling peace, feeling happy, feeling content. So yeah, our entire world as a collective has been accumulating things and then realizing that the things that we accumulated does not offer the peace of God, does not offer what we really want. So then there's a disappointment, and then there's resentment because we've given up so much time and energy chasing for things that are really nothing. So the Course has helped me identify what is nothing and what is everything. So hopefully in this our conversation today, that each one of us and each one of you also get a chance to recognize in your life what is everything and what is nothing. All right, so from that space, here we go. Creating versus the self-image. Every system of thought must have a starting point. It begins with either a making or a creating, a difference we have already discussed in the previous sections. Their resemblance lies in their power as foundations. Their difference lies in what rests upon them. Both are cornerstones for systems of belief by which one lives. So just to bring it back, making and creating. Making is something that we make. Creation is of an extension of source. Okay. Making is always a reinforcement of an image that I have of myself and that I have been making my whole life. Right? This Alex here in Peru teaching A Course in Miracles, all these identities that we take on, and then we treasure and we defend it. But creation is what you were created as an image of God. Okay. It is a mistake to believe that a thought system based on lies is weak. Nothing made by a child of God is without power. It is essential to realize this because otherwise you will be unable to escape from the prison you have made. So the Course is saying you have equal power. Okay, you have equal power to make things, to create things. Now, what you've made, you also believe. And what you believe dictates the experience you have in the world. All right, so they have power because you share the creation power that God shares. Okay, as a idea of God. We are an idea of God, and so we share the same attributes, the ability to create something, which we make real. But when we create something, it's called make. Okay, so that's just a distinction. You cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of your own mind. So last week we talked about the authority problem. Every single one of our problems comes from deviation or from forgetting that in God's plans there are no accidents. And examples of how we forget is we decide what is best for us. We decide what is in our own best interest. We decide what is in the best interest of my family, of my children, of my friends, my mom, whatever. We do this every single day. That is the authority problem. We say, God, move over. I will be the judge here in this situation with this person. Okay, it's basically implying, God, you've made a mistake. Okay, this is not right. And just recognizing that arrogance in ourselves. For really, if we think about all the knowledge that ever existed in the world, was, is, ever will be, like how much do we actually know in the speck of a lifetime that we've lived? Right? We really know nothing. I mean, I think most of us can come to that sense, that level of humility, that we know a speck of all the knowledge that's available in the world. So from that place, like, how do we even know how to judge? Do we even have the capacity to judge? What are we judging based off of? And that judgment itself is actually very heavy. It's so heavy that it brings us to our knees. It brings so much anxiety and worry that this world isn't safe, that people are out to get us. Banks are bad, governments are bad, people are bad. Right? We see more of that than we see anything else. I had a conversation with a good brother here last night, and he was like, I'm about people trying to get out of paying taxes in the States because, the government just wastes more money on the military, and they're, ridiculous where they're spending. I don't want to participate in it. Right? I'm like, yeah, that's one way to look at it. Right? But it creates a conflict in us. You see how that itself creates a conflict and will manifest into more conflicts down the road by trying not to pay taxes. Right? But then I'm like, do you know people that are working for nonprofits that are getting grants from the government, that are enjoying some of the infrastructure and some of the lifestyle and things like that is provided in the United States? And he's like, oh yeah, I know somebody that, is doing this amazing thing, and they work in the government and they get grants and funding. I'm like, so that's also part of where your taxes are going. Right? Like, the more what we focus on grows. That is a universal law also that the Course shares, that as you focus on something, that grows. As you focus on the worries and the anxieties and the not good enough, that will continue to grow. And it will show up in other areas of your life. It's not isolated to one event, because you are growing it. You're nurturing that aspect of yourself. Or you can interrupt it and focus on gratitude, focus on the good things that are being provided, right? And so as you do that, that grows. As you think about in your situations where, maybe things are not going the way you want it to go, but what can we find gratitude and thank yous for? And as we do that, that starts to grow. And then just more blessings. They're blessings because that's what just exists in the space. That's what's available to you, but you get to choose. So our beliefs are very, very powerful because they are real for us. So this believing in a thought system, it's very powerful for us. Now, which way do we do it? You cannot resolve the authority problem by depreciating the power of your mind. To do so is to deceive yourself, and this will hurt you because you really understand the strength of your mind. You also realize that you cannot weaken it any more than you can weaken God. The devil is a frightening concept because he seems to be extremely powerful and extremely active. He is perceived as a force in combat with God, battling him for possession of his creations. You, me. The devil deceives by lies and builds kingdoms in which everything is direct opposition to God. Yet he attracts he attracts us rather than repel us, and we are willing to sell our souls in return for gifts of no real worth. This makes absolutely no sense. So it's this is what the course really says, that the devil, this idea of the devil, the devil itself in this world is symbolized as a force that is battling for possession of God's creations, right? And the devil is really just a symbol of our choice to believe in separation, to believe in giving our power over to things outside of us. More money, more cars, having this and having that adds to us, that adds to our identity, but it doesn't. That's the thing. See, these are the temptations. These are the temptations to reinforce the fact that we are lacking without these things that are outside of us. Okay, so that's the devil is really a symbol of that. That's something that is outside. So for us, what the devil is for us to avoid taking responsibility for the choices that we make. And to make up a story that an external force is the cause of our own, is the cause of our experience rather than our own beliefs. All right, so oh, two people in the waiting room. Hello. We have discussed the fall or separation, but its meaning must be clearly understood. So what is the fall? Where's the beginning of separation? We've talked about in the past, like the separation itself was this tiny mad idea that somehow we could be different than we really are. What if we were something else other than we are? See, that was an idea, a tiny mad idea that came in, and we took it personal. We made it serious. And as soon as that serious idea came, and it's now part of our belief system, the ego was created, and separation has been reinforced and been tempted ever since. So now we got to really clearly understand what the separation is. The separation is a system of thought real enough in time, but not in eternity. All beliefs are real to their believer. The fruit of one tree was forbidden in the symbolic garden. So this is a cool part because we're going to talk about like the Garden of Eden, and just a different perspective on how we can look at that. The fruit, the fruit of only one tree was forbidden in the symbolic garden, but God could not have forbidden it, or it could not have been eaten. If God knows his children, I assure you that he does, or she does, would he possibly put them in a position where their own destruction was possible? The forbidden tree was named the tree of knowledge, yet God created knowledge and gave it freely to his creations. The symbolism here has been given many interpretations, but you may be sure that any interpretation that sees either God or his creations as capable of destroying their own purpose is in error. Okay, so this is kind of like we're just talking about shifting in interpretation right now, recognizing that, wait, does this actually make sense? Right? Like, why would God or any of us, create something that destroys our own purpose and error? It's not even logical. It doesn't make sense. Right? So eating the fruit of tree of knowledge is a symbolic expression of usurping the ability for self-creating. So it's a symbol, like eating this fruit was a symbolic expression of us making our own image now. And we do this, every one of us. We have an image that we're trying to protect about ourselves. And we will go to war and extreme violence to protect that, to protect our beliefs. The belief that they are is implicit in the self concept, or the tendency of the self to make an image of itself. Images are perceived, not known. Okay, so here's another distinction that we've made throughout the course, is there is a knowing. Okay, we know. There is a knowing. We can feel it when we're around it, when we hear it. It's deep within inside of us. And the course itself is a beginning. It's not an end. It's not like, let me finish a course and I'm now all of a sudden enlightened. The course is a beginning for you to recognize the voice that comes from knowing inside. And we don't need affirmations outside. We don't need people to tell us what to do. The 3D world that we live in holds nothing to this knowing that we have inside. So, knowing cannot deceive, but perceptions can. You can perceive yourself as self-creating, but you cannot do more than believe in it. You cannot make it true. So just because we believe something does not make it true. Okay, we're always trying to separate and make distinctions of these things so that we can recognize what is it that I want and what is it that I don't want. Okay, because we have deceived ourselves to thinking money is what I want. This car is what I want. I want this person to love me, to be kind to me. Okay, as if those things happened, it will fulfill some sort of lack in myself. Okay, just because you believe that doesn't make it true, because what is true is that there is nothing lacking in you. And that's the practice of remembering that, and being here in Peru, like, this is all there really is, and so many people are attracted and drawn to this place. And when we come here, it's like there's a code in the land itself and the people that resided here and the indigenous people that have just passed down this message to each other without the distraction of all the Western things, that we've become accustomed to. And so what is this code? What is this remembering? And a lot of it just comes from, it's all about giving thanks. It's about the reverence for the land and taking care of the animal and having just reverence in all the things that is here. And as we just, like I shared earlier, as we step more into gratitude and thankfulness, more of that just keeps pouring in. Good morning. When you have gratitude in your heart, worry doesn't exist at the same time. Okay, so I'll continue reading here a little bit more. You cannot make it true. And as I said before, when you finally perceive correctly, you will only be glad that you cannot. Until then, however, the belief that you can is the foundation stone in your thought system, and all your defenses are used to attack ideas that might bring it to the light. You still believe you are an image of your own making. Your mind is split with the Holy Spirit on this point, and there is no resolution while you believe that one thing is literally inconceivable. That is why you cannot create and are filled with fear about what you make. So because there is nothing in our world. There is nothing in our world that is consistent enough. This is why we have so much anxiety and worry. Like, if I just got this, then I'll be happy, and it does not happen. If we repeat the same thing over and over, it doesn't give us the same results. Right? The first time that you fell in love, or the first time you had an experience of something, and we just keep chasing that, thinking that's going to get us that experience again. And because it doesn't, it shows this inconsistency in our world. So where can we place our faith? Where do we place our trust? This is the anxiety that we really have inside, is I don't know where to place my trust. Let's see what this question is. I'm in Peru. I'm in Pisac in Peru. So, where are we at? The mind can make the belief in separation very real and very fearful. And this belief is the devil. It is powerful, active, destructive, and clearly in opposition to God because it literally denies his fatherhood. Look at your life and see what the devil has made. But realize that this making will surely dissolve in the light of truth because its foundation is a lie. Your creation by God is the only foundation that cannot be shaken because the light is in it. Your starting point is truth, and you must return to your beginning. Much has been seen since then, but nothing has really happened. Yourself, your capital self, is still in peace, even though your mind is in conflict. You have not yet gone back far enough, and that is why you have become so fearful. As you approach the beginning, you will feel the fear of the destruction of your thought system upon you as if it were the fear of death. There is no death, but there is a belief in death. The branch that bears no fruit will be cut off and will wither away. Be glad. The light will shine from the true foundation of your life, and your own thought system will stand corrected. It cannot stand otherwise. You who fear salvation are choosing death. Life and death, light and darkness, knowledge and perception are cannot be reconcilable. Okay. Irreconcilable. They use this word a lot, and I can't say it every time. It just means that light and darkness share no attributes. They have no places in which they're the same. Okay. Knowledge and perception, same thing. They're upside down from each other. There is no gray line. Everything is just black and white in that. You're either choosing love or you're choosing fear. You're either choosing knowledge or perception. You're either choosing light or darkness, or you're choosing life or death. There is nothing in between. All right. The recognition and the vision of one costs you the vision of the other. Now, which one will you put your thoughts behind? Yeah, your beliefs behind? To believe that they can be reconciled is to believe that God and his Son cannot. Only the oneness of knowledge is free of conflict. Your kingdom is not of this world because it was given to you from beyond this world. Only in this world is the idea of an authority problem meaningful. The world is not left by death, but by truth, and truth can be known by all those whom the kingdom was created and for whom it waits. So the next chapter, it's the next time on Wednesday when we go into this call, we're going to start on chapter 4, the illusions of the egos. Right? The course itself isn't trying to teach us what love is, trying to teach us what God is, or teach us who we are. The course is showing us all the barriers and all the things that we have created against it so that we don't remember. And so it's illuminating for us. Look, this is what you have made. This is what you are protecting. And it gave you nothing. Because if it did, then you would have lasting peace. So we acquire something, and then immediately we go and have a conflict with somebody else, with something else. And we just keep doing that over and over again. So the course is like, dude, that's insane. Why do we keep doing it? So the next time you're worried, you're anxious, you lose your peace, like what is it that you're treasuring? Look at what about yourself that you're protecting? What is it that you're protecting? What are you treasuring? Right. And for me, like, real estate deals bring a lot of stress also because we think this is what we want. Right. I'm like, I want this deal to close. and then things just happen. The economy happens, things happen, and we don't really know where things are going. But the anxiety and the worry comes from the fact that I don't trust that God's going to have, God is taking care of me and has my best interests. And it's hard. It's hard for us. So my prayer every time, like the prayer is, God, show me a different way to look at it. Universe, show me a different way to look at this. I believe in something, and because I believe it, it's got power over me. I made this thing. That means I must cherish it. In order for me to let that go, I have to give it over. So, even down here in Peru, there's been a lot of anxiety about things that are happening and that I'm doing at home, projects, that I'm creating. I'm like, wow, this is so big. And then I come down to Peru, everyone's so happy. Nobody needs all the money in the world. And in this beautiful, amazing community. Look at the back, like, look at these mountains. This is what you wake up looking at, like everywhere. I'm like, what am I hustling and bustling doing? Like, am I moving forward or am I moving backwards? At some point, it's like, it's confusing. That's why coming down here in Peru, it's like, for me, this is a place where I reset myself. I find what it is, again, that is important. When I do real estate deals, it's not about the deals itself. It's about the way in which I did the deals. Did I hurt any relationships along the way? Did I lose myself along the way? That's what's important. And we can ask that question for everything that we do. Was I willing to jeopardize, my values for this, which is nothing? The accumulation of material things is nothing. Now, they're not bad, okay? They're just neutral. But we have to look at our relationship to those things. Like, are we willing to go to war over it? Oh, did I freeze over here? Can you guys hear me? Oh, okay. Wow, everybody was so still. I thought we were frozen. So, yeah, that's and we've been given everything. Our capacity to love and our capacity to to trust and be patient and to create abundance in our own lives is so limitless. We create the limits on ourselves. It is so limitless. Now, sometimes in the 3D world, it doesn't feel that way, right? But if we really see our relationships that we have with people, with our family, with our significant others, like, how well did I tend to that? That's what's important. That's everything. Like, how much did I love and how much did I give my energy and time to somebody? We're creating like something for kids that are aging out of foster homes, kids being rescued from human trafficking. Like, they just want to be seen. They just want to know that somebody's got their back, somebody to speak up for them, right? Because they've been so isolated in their own world. Like, we can't even imagine what they've been going through. And because we don't spend the time and the effort or the energy to try to understand it, we don't even speak up for them, right? And then they can't speak up for themselves because our society just kind of, it's like, okay, you do your own thing. You're responsible for your own thing now. And that's everything. It's how we show up in the world today. And that is the easiest and the best place to look is like the closest people to you, because those are the people that we tend to dismiss and that we tend to overlook and forget about. So sometimes it's weird. It's like we're almost like nicer and kinder to strangers than we are with the people that we're in the trenches with. So remembering all of that. The course itself has just shown me and reminded me constantly what is important and what is not. Because when there's money involved and there's transactions involved, like, it's hard to keep personal relationship out of that. But if we just be grounded, like, the relationship is what I care about more than anything else here. That's where we find like peace in our hearts. Because we remember what's important, what's everything and what's nothing. So hopefully just, from this session here today, it's helped me. I'm going through some, stuff with this one deal. Just everything keeps creating more problems. And then I worry, and then I have anxiety around it. So now is the time, I know, for me to deepen my work even more, deepen my practice of trust and faith. And that's the game. That's the game of life. The game of life is you will be given and tested over and over again, and the stakes will get higher and higher if you do not learn. Right? If you're not learning from a lesson, the next time this lesson shows up in a different form, the stakes will be much higher. And so we just, now, whatever the lesson is for you now, is let me give it over. Show me. Right? Spirit, show me. God, show me. Whoever you want to call upon, that is the creator. Show me what I'm supposed to do. Show me a different way to look at it. Like, that's like my only prayer, is literally show me a different way to look at it every time. So anyways, I want to open it up a little bit here for anyone that has anything that they want to share, anything going on in your life that you would like to, maybe bring some peace and some guidance from A Course in Miracles to. Could be anybody online, anybody on Zoom. Challenges in relationships.
Hello, Alex. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you actually receive these thoughts, how do you like, and things are not what you want them to be, what you want your mind to think. How do you, I guess, control? Control there, it's probably back to the ego.
Mm-hmm.
But if something's not the right way, how do you just allow it to flow through you, or how do you handle that?
Yeah. So it's important to feel first, right? Because our body is a device to help us recognize something. The body's got its own brain and its own thing that it does. Like, we feel anxious, maybe it doesn't even come to our mind yet. It's like, why is my heart beating faster? Why am I so tense? Our body can recognize that. So for us to first develop that connection with the body, recognizing what it does. So in that moment, you can start to shift your relationship to, I don't want this, that this is wrong. This is not the way to think, right? Because the more you say this is bad, you just make it bigger and bigger. So the Course actually talks about not trying to conquer or master fear, but conquer and master love. And what that means is, as you focus, when you're having these things or your thoughts come up, you say, hey, recognizing this is just a perception and interpretation of something. First, it's not the truth. Okay. Because one of the problems that we have is we make our belief systems the truth, and then we go to battle with people, and then we lose our shit. Right. So first, just saying, okay, this is not the truth. This is one way to look at it. Awesome. And then, because I've made my own belief systems real, everything is in accordance to it. You didn't have this thought by accident. There is a string of belief systems that have led you to experience this, right? So okay, here's an opportunity for me to first be able to even shine a light on the entire thing. And then I know it's not the truth. See, recognizing that I know it's not the truth is very important, because that means, you know, oh, there must be another way. And that's how the Course of Miracles came about, is there must be another way. I know that talking behind somebody's back and the crazy tension in the work environment, that's not the only way, right? But based on evidence, that has been the way. So I could make that the truth and just create more of it, or I can say there must be a better way. The must be a better way is acknowledging the fact that A, I don't got all the answers, and what I believe in is not the truth. And then you allow it to come. You allow little miracle moments to show up for you, to say, oh, that's it right there, right? Because you feel a sense of peace. And then you start to interrupt those patterns of fear all the time. And you may have to do it over and over. You can ask for it, and clarity shows up, peace shows up, and the next moment you're worried and and anxious again, and judging again, and attacking again, and defending again. It's the rebound time. We're gonna keep forgetting. That's just the way it is. But what's your rebound time? And how fast can you start to mend those things when you've fallen? How many times will you get back up? Or do you just give up? Oh, this is the way it is. I got no power. Here, take it. You know, my job, my boss, the government, you know, the big funds out there, all the evil people out there, and you just give up. Or you interrupt it and say, there must be a better way. God, show me. All right, so I would say the first thing is don't judge yourself, because we are very, very hard on ourselves. We're very hard on ourselves. We're very hard on people. So interrupt that first. And just know that whatever these thoughts showing up, it did not happen by accident, right? Everything that happens is happening for us, to show us. So yeah. Thank you for that question. You know, a lot of times this question does come up for all spiritual practitioners and Course in Miracles students is, oh man, now that I've recognized the ego and it keeps showing up and I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. I know it's wrong. That right there first is there is nothing wrong. Right? It's not love and fear. It seems in the 3D world as their opposites. But if love is an all-encompassing thing, then it doesn't have any opposites. Even your thoughts, even your discomforts, even your whatever comes up is a form of love, or a lesson on love, or an expression of love. Everything is just love on different sides of the coin. So there's no need to shame it, judge it, blame it. How can we see it as part of love? Part of the awakening, the remembering. Cool. Anything else? Anyone else?
Yeah, I think something that you mentioned about, who's around you today. Like the other day, like I had a really great moment with my friend, just like helping me out with some car troubles and whatnot. So just lately been thinking about how grateful who I have in my life. And in some moments, like I forget that. And like I've been making choices and decisions lately to just like surround myself with people who aren't going to bring, like negative thoughts or like toxic traits. And doing that and making that transition, like those memories kind of of those people kind of just like still stay with you just because it's an environment that I've like grown up in. And so I guess my question here is, once you do like establish, a good circle of people, like how do you go about those, memories and like those moments from anyone that's like raised you in an environment and kind of like play a role in those like ego mind traits that you have today?
Mm-hmm. Well, just know, one, that it doesn't even matter who you surround yourself with, because wherever you go and whoever you surround yourself with, you will still be there, right? So, like, if those things are affecting you, no doubt that at some point, even around this great circle, that will show up, and it's knowing that, okay, when it does show up, like, let me give this thought about it over to spirit, that like there was even anything wrong with the way that you were taught growing up. Like everything is a course correction. It's showing you, hey, don't go here because this is the experience you'll have. Not that it's even negative, not that it's a bad thing, because sometimes you have to experience some of these negative things in your life in order to even step forward to the other side, right? So nothing is actually negative, but it's what kind of experience do you want to have? Right. And if you feel like there are good things that you want and then there are bad things, that's still a duality that will cause confusion for you. Rather it's like, wow, look at these awesome, amazing people that are around in my life. And then, this was what I was brought up on, but let me give gratitude to them equally. Right. That like, I wouldn't have even been here if I didn't go through here. So which one am I even more grateful for? Right. It now becomes kind of like a fun game of, which one can I be more grateful for? The good things or the bad things? And then eventually they just both dissolve into one teaching, one lesson, one love. And the duality starts to like, the gap of duality starts to close. So yeah, I would just, anything that is bad is probably not bad. I think about the hardships that I've had in my life, and a part of me is so passionate about teaching and sharing around finances because I've been at the rock bottom. Like I know what that feels like. And when people are even remotely in that place, like it pulls on a heartstring in me. So that's why I do what I do all the time, and also it's a place for me to continue to discover, recognizing that wasn't, yeah, I did experience a lot of pain and a lot of worries and stuff, but it's not like I'm not going to experience it again, right? But how do I see it differently this time, right? And so everything is just such a great learning lesson and opportunity for us. Morning, welcome. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Hopefully it supports, it's in these questions often that we are to other places in our life, because I'm thinking about my life also. I'm thinking of things that I've had. What is bad? What am I deciding that is bad for me in my life? So yeah. Anything else? I've had some profound conversations and meetings with people down here in Peru. It's been pretty epic. Anybody want to ask anything about the course? Like what it says on certain topics, anything that you might not be clear on. The course actually has a whole section in the back that's like, what is peace? How is healing and the atonement related? Like Any one of those questions. Does Jesus have a special place in healing? All sorts of stuff. So, the course is very it's one of the studies or teachings that I feel like I haven't really found any contradictions into itself. And maybe it's probably my mind where I'm at because I've studied it for so long. And it's one path. All right, this is not the only path. This is one path. Hopefully it illuminates something for you as you're studying any other bodies of work.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I just ordered the book. It comes today. Do I just start from the beginning? And I was listening to the audiobook with Marianne, I think, and she says she does the text and the workbook at the same time.
Yeah. I think.
What do you recommend?
Well, I would recommend definitely the workbook, because the workbook is like a 5-minute, 10-minute practice throughout the day. And, over the course of the year, you'll be like, whoa, I'm only moving like a little tiny bit moving forward every day. But by the end of the workbook, you're like, wow, the way that I see the world is so different from the time that I started to now. Like, I can't believe that shift, so the workbook is amazing in that place, because the text itself, a lot of it is this is why we do this call, because the text itself is very dense and sometimes hard to understand. So we put it into, we have a community around it and a group study around it. And then we teach each other to understand what it is that section's about. It's like my 6th time reading through it. I'm probably every different sections I probably read 50 times. And still, when I read it again, I'm like, whoa, that was so freaking profound, because I'm in a different place now. So this is a great, the front of the book says it's the foundation for inner peace. Foundation. It's just the foundation. You're going to build the rest of it. Life is going to teach you the rest of it. But yeah, and then when sometimes starting from the manual for teachers in the back is also great too, because it's a lot of questions that you may have in general, right? Like, how is healing possible? How does the world end? Even things like that. Is resurrection real? And the way that the course puts it, it's so amazing. It's like, how do you answer a question without actually saying yes or no? And that's how profound the course is, right? Like, when people ask you a question, it's like, yes or no. Somebody was asking me about something in the podcast I was just doing. She's like, well, so do you now finally know what that lesson was of what you were, whatever you were going through? I'm like, no, I can't just say, yeah, I know the lesson, because it continues, right? 10 years later, I might remember back to this and be like, holy shit, that was an amazing lesson. Like, my dad passed the biggest event. If you're like, what was the lesson? The lesson. I'm like, there was many lessons, and it continues to have lessons. Right? So it's kind of that open-mindedness around infinite possibility and potentiality of every event, everything that happens for us. So yes, I would, but it does require devotion, just like anything that you do. If you want to be successful in real estate, there are a lot of things you got to continue to put into to learn and to find who you are in that space. Okay, for sure, if you study real estate long enough, you probably, going deep into it, you probably find God there too. Or cryptocurrency, anything, right? It's just because we find ourselves in it, and that's where we're finding God. It's because we are present in it. So yes, the course does require dedication. I would say commit yourself to finishing 365 lessons. Okay, whether it's in a year or just be like, I'm going to finish 365. You do go in chronological order. That is what the course actually says. You do need to go in that, because the beginning is a very, very slow. that was a giant beetle. Holy crap. The in chronological order, because in the beginning is so subtle. It's like, oh, I don't really understand what this water bottle is. You know, what I see, you know, doesn't mean what I think it means. You know, like very, very subtle things to like invite you in. And then later on, it's like almost like full embodiment. You know, and throughout the workbook, there's like sections like, how is error corrected? How does judgment end? Like, how do we relinquish judgments? So those are, you know, all the course itself. So this is my second book. My first one, actually, my dog chewed up, and I remember I was so upset because I had highlighted so many important, amazing things in it, and every time I flip somewhere, I can find something just super great that I highlighted, and it was, you know, it was with me in very hard times, and I treasured it. I created some meaning around it. And it was, I remembered like, okay, I got it down. And I was kind of like, you know, it was earlier on in when I first started teaching the course. And we were like in a section about about the things that we valued and how much false idols that we've created that is on the altar. And I'm like, oh, got it. Okay, I don't need all these things on the altar. Money doesn't belong on the altar. And okay, I got it. My image, things, love and God belongs there. And then literally my dog chews up the book. I'm like, oh shit, I put A Course in Miracles on the altar. That doesn't even belong there. Right. And then immediately, like the next day, somebody gifted me this hardcover book. And now I have it. And, you know, I guess maybe I haven't taken the best care of it because it's kind of like falling apart because I carry it around everywhere I go. And I'm like a little bit sad that this sleeve thing is falling off of this hardcover. I don't know if there's a way to fix it. But yeah, it's awesome. So I'm glad that you're starting to dive into it. And if nothing else, A Course in Miracles makes a great bookend and a bookshelf display.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, of course. We have a chat tomorrow, right? You and I are chatting tomorrow?
Yeah, around this time.
Okay, cool. Just remembering. What else? We've been like flying through these sections. You know, I remember like when I was before, like an hour and a half felt like a very short time. Now I feel like we're like diving deeper into exactly what we need to in a shorter period of time. I always like to keep the space open, you know. Is oh. Welcome back, Natalia. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm excited about these new times on Sundays. And so I'm able to jump in. And I would like to say something about being a student of the course. And I just started, I started again to learn how to play the harmonium. So when Dawn was asking about the course, I kind of thought it's kind of learning how to play an instrument. Because it's like you got to learn the basics and start from the beginning. And then once I start playing some notes, then I can continue and move on. So it's kind of like it builds up on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just thought of that. And I'm happy to be here and share with everybody and see familiar faces. Oh, thank you, Brooke. I did cut my and I love seeing new people here on the call too. The community continues to grow.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the community, like, it's touching a lot of people's lives, and it's going to come from you guys. Like, as you find some peace and get some aha moments as you're on these calls, like, you're going to go out and impact somebody's life in such a way. Last night, talking to this one of the good brothers here, the same thing. He was like, all I share was one little principle of A Course in Miracles of, like, and it's not even A Course in Miracles, it's a universal teaching of where your energy goes, where your attention goes, it grows, right? And I just shared about that, about the government, like being able to see it differently. He's like, dude, you just changed my whole life. And it was it was crazy. He's like, I never even thought about it that way. Right? The Course is an interruption to our ego, to the idea of separation. And if there was no separation, we would have zero judgments on anything. That's why the Course says all this stuff, prayer, Course in Miracles, forgiveness, any tool that you can think of. Like, when you return back to heaven, to the kingdom, like, none of this is necessary anymore. Right? Like, we can have the most fancy GPS and we put destination home. And it's like, it has helped us gotten our way, back home. But by the time you get home, when you get home, you no longer need this device. You no longer need the tools to get you home because you're there. That's what the Course is saying about all this stuff. Like, these are all tools to guide you home. The GPS has already been set. And even beyond that, we've actually didn't even go anywhere yet. That this whole journey home was actually just a dream. Of course, like, Adam fell into a deep sleep, but never in the Bible or anything anywhere does it ever say that Adam woke up. So then, what are we doing? Right? And I love using the GPS thing because it really can point out for us, like, how we do what we do. We make the wrong turn, we attack, we judge, we no longer move forward, and then we forget that we even set the GPS to go home. Like, where are we going? How did I end up here? And so there's that feeling of, like, being lost. And there's a longing to belong. We all have a longing to belong. That means if all of my brothers and sisters have a longing to belong, how do I answer that call? How do I show up so that other people feel a belonging? Instead of, like, comparisons and competition. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's see. Do we have any questions online? Shit. Nope. Nothing there. Sorry, on Instagram, I literally, like, don't see this because I'm looking at my computer. Yeah, sorry. Miss questions and things like that on there. All right. Anything else? Shall we call it? Maybe I'll just flip to something at the end for us to just read. Since Don was asking about the lessons, I'm going to read a lesson from the back of the course. And I'll actually no, I don't have my cards here. I know. But I will be back on Thursday, back to the States. Very short period of time. Okay, I don't want to read like a 10-paragraph one, so I'm going to go further back into the lessons. Okay, maybe it wants me to. Okay. So this will be our blessing as we finish up on this call. All right. Lesson 248. Whatever suffers is not a part of me. I have disowned the truth. Now let me be as faithful in disowning falsity. Whatever suffers is not part of me. What grieves is not myself. What is in pain is but an illusion in my mind. What dies was never living in reality, but did mock the truth about myself. Now I disown self-concepts and deceits and lies about the Holy Son of God. Now I'm ready to accept him back as God created him and as he is. Father, my ancient love for you returns, and lets me love your Son again as well. Father, I am as you created me. Now is your love remembered and my own. Now do I understand that they are one. Lesson 248. Whatever suffers is not a part of me. A little bit. So see, like when it goes to the back, the end of the lessons, it's very much like boom. But you need to work your way up to it, right? Because that's to grasp even that itself requires, some working your way up to, right? Like understanding that this is not an attack on you. This is a decision that you get to make about is what you believe about yourself and about the world and all these things, is that more valuable to you, or is the returning of your mind to innocence, is returning home more important to you, right? Like as we're GPSing home, is it more important about the conflict and and making the wrong turn, the fight that you have with somebody, or is it remembering, oh, I'm going home, right? All this stuff, great, awesome. And I don't need to carry it with me. I don't need to load my car up with a whole bunch of things as I'm driving so that I can remember the stories about it. All right. So yeah, the course definitely takes a shift of perception and easing of your mind into it. That's why the lessons are done and created in that specific way. And yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. All right. So I do want to give you guys kind of like a takeaway, something that you can start practicing just, today, tomorrow, as we wrap up and anchor in the course itself, is focus on giving. Okay. There's a giving, there's a teaching, a lesson in giving. Like the more you give to people, the more you show up for people, and give it from the infinite well of the universe, of God, not from in here, not from like I'm giving from a well that I've created that I've made up. Okay. Where the more you scoop from the infinite well, the more you realize it never ends. That's the remembering. So like focus on the like giving and how you can receive just from the giving space. Be more generous with your time, be more generous with your money, be more generous just throughout the day today. Okay, as we roll into the next session on Wednesday, like from now to then, like let's like bring awareness and attention to giving. All right. So, all right, that's it. That's all, folks. It's been real. Thank you for being on this amazing journey with me. I'm so grateful. Have a fantastic day, everybody. Blessings.